My master. My master. Slayer panicked. He never thought that he would Henry. Listen to me, Danny. Alex held the excited Slayer by the shoulder and looked into his eyes. He's dead. Don't be afraid. I'll make sure that you'll be fine. But he was my benefactor. I'm nothing without him. Every day he would bring me food. I killed him. Slayer felt conflicted. He never saw you as a human, only as a pet dog, so don't feel guilty. Have you already forgotten how badly he kicked you? If you didn't do things for him, he would beat you. Alex did his best to calm the little man. Now that Henry is dead, you'll be your own. You won't need to listen to anyone else's orders. Alex looked at Slayer and added, From now on, the nightmare is over. From today onward, you'll be better off. Do you believe me? I believe you because you're my friend, Slayer said as he calmed down a little. Good. Alex patted his shoulder. He finally felt less uneasy. The two of them looked at Corey and the rest of the group. They shivered. Corey, what's wrong? The help that Corey had called for had finally arrived. 7 or 8 tall men walked in. Get them! Corey pointed at Alex and his friends. The group of men rushed toward Alex. After witnessing the tragic scene that had taken place moments earlier, several other people took the opportunity to run toward the door, as they did not dare to stay in the restaurant any longer. Slayer, we fight with our friends, Alex roared, picked up a wine bottle and rushed forward. Alex, let me help you. Slayer would not let his friend get hurt, so he darted over to join him. Damn it, I'm gonna have a good fight today. Ben also stood up. Without waiting for Tanya to stop him, he also joined in. She looked anxiously at her brother, afraid that he would get hit again. How can I miss out on this? I'll help too. Since his friends were ready to engage in battle, Carl couldn't just stand there and watch. Even though he was injured and weak, he still had to fight alongside them. In the blink of an eye, Alex and his friends were fighting with the tall men. Tanya and Brittany watched anxiously from the sidelines. Slayer's martial arts skills were not just for show. When he used his skills, none of the tall men was his match. He alone was able to take on the whole group. You trying to leave now? Come here! Alex ran toward the door, blocking Corey's path and slamming it shut. This time, none of them could escape. Oh! Mother! Damn! Even though Slayer was also slightly injured, he still knocked down the whole group of thugs. The men piled up on the floor. Slayer stepped onto a dining table and then onto the stomach of one of the guys at the top of the pile. When he put his foot down hard, the men cried out in unison. Kneel! Alex yelled and sat on a chair. Ben and Carl also sat down. Yes, kneel, we'll kneel, Corey said. How could Corey at that moment even consider his status as the dignified son of a leader of the flag sect? If he didn't obey Alex, that day could be his last. What should we do with them? Alex looked at Ben and Carl, as they were the ones Corey had offended that day. What have you got to say for yourself, you powerful sect member? Now that they had restrained Corey, Ben and Carl became more energetic and taunted him. Carl also slapped the 2 hoodlums who had been flirting with Brittany and Tanya at the airport. You fought well. We should have... The beaten Corey could only say that Ben and his friends had fought well. Tanya, Brittany, how do you think we should deal with this? Ben looked at the girls and asked. Right. Why don't you 2 slap them a few times to vent your anger? Carl suggested. Forget it. They're already in quite a miserable state. Tanya and Brittany had soft hearts. No, that's too nice, Ben said. He had yet to release his anger out on Corey. Ben glared at Corey and his group and said, Slap your own faces. Now. Corey and his group of men did not dare to disobey. They were afraid that Ben's group would get angry and kill them. The 2 corpses on the other side of the room gave them chills. Corey slapped himself 3 or 4 times. His face was already swollen with large bruises on his forehead. Darren followed suit, and he did it harder than anyone else. "Who asked you to fight?" Darren's heart trembled when he heard Ben's voice. He looked at Ben in fear, and when he saw Ben and Carl stand up viciously, his heart almost flew out of his chest. "Ben, Carl, please spare me. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I shouldn't have said those things to you before. Please forgive me. We're classmates after all. I'm extremely grateful to you both," Darren said as he kept bowing in panic. "You damn well realize that we're classmates now, huh?" Ben and Carl became even more infuriated when they heard him describe them as classmates. The two of them kicked Darren at the same time, and he fell to the ground. Ben and Carl rushed toward Darren again. Ben hit him with his left hand, and Carl hit him with his right hand. They each slapped Darren 10 times. "Ben, Carl, I won't do that again. I'm not good enough to be your classmate. I've brought what happened today on myself," cried Darren. Ben let Darren slap himself in the mouth. The restaurant was filled with the sounds of slapping. Alex told them to stop and commanded them to leave. Scram! Corey, his lackeys, and of course Darren all ran out of the restaurant. Only then did Alex and his friends let out big sighs of relief. "Alex, what about you and Slayer?" Ben asked worriedly. They had completely forgotten someone. "That's right, we shouldn't have let those guys leave. They might call the police," Carl said. "Let's get out of here before the cops show up. If you leave the country, you can probably still live," Brittany said to Alex. She didn't want anything to happen to him. If it hadn't been for Alex that day, one of their group might have died. "Don't be silly," he replied. Tanya looked at Alex with deep concern and said, "Listen to me, go to the police station and turn yourself in immediately. You have to get there before those people report it. If you hand yourself over, they'll reduce your sentence. Besides, they've beaten you up and it was self-defense. The punishment might even be lower." "That's all we can do now," Ben said. "Let's go," said Carl. "Prison is always better than death," Tanya added. Ben, Brittany, and Carl agreed with her. They were ready to take Alex and Slayer to the police station to hand themselves in. "There's no need to." Alex didn't move. He looked at them all and said, "Slayer and I don't need to go to the police station. We're fine. I know someone who will help me deal with this." "No need? Alex, don't be silly. If you don't go now, those people will definitely go to the police. Let's hurry up and leave. Otherwise, turning yourself in won't count for much of anything anymore," said one of his friends. Ben and his friends didn't believe Alex. After all, they had just killed 2 people. Even the head of the Trader Joe's group, Donald Brennan, wouldn't be able to settle this issue. It was not like they didn't know Alex's situation. There's really no need for that. If I go to the police station now, I'll get into trouble instead. Alex pushed Ben and the rest away. He couldn't explain it clearly to them. "Wait a minute. I'll make a phone call." With that, Alex walked off to the side and called Sam. "Sam, listen to me. 2 people are dead at the Yellow Garden restaurant. One is a lackey of Corey Davis who is connected to the Flag sect. The other is Henry Moore, a rich guy in New York. Send someone right away to deal with them. I still have a few friends here. To ensure their safety, don't say anything else." Alex felt it was rather embarrassing to trouble Sam with the dead bodies, but he knew that dealing with bodies was just a small matter for him. "Sir, are you all right?" Sam asked with concern. After hearing Alex say that he was fine, he calmed down a little. "Yes, I'll send people to deal with it. Your friends will be okay." "Very good," Alex replied. "What happened to the mother and daughter? Did you take them to a safe place?" "I was just about to report on this to you." Sam's voice became heavier. "When our people arrived at the hotel, they were already gone." "They're not there anymore? Where did they go?" Alex felt worried. "The hotel staff said that a few men took them away. We also checked the surveillance footage. Flag sect's people captured them. Right now I'm preparing to send someone over to get them back. Sam told him all the information he had learned. Just wait, I'll go personally this time. If Vivian and her daughter had fallen into the hands of the Flag sect, the situation was extremely dangerous. Alex didn't have the patience to wait. He wanted to personally go and bring the two of them back as quickly as possible. After saying that, Alex hung up the phone. When his friends overheard that he had been talking to a man named Sam about the Flag sect and a missing mother and daughter, they didn't understand and became worried. You guys stay here and don't go out. Someone will come by in a while and deal with this mess. They'll take you guys to a safe place, Alex said. He told them he was going to leave. Although his friends didn't believe that he would find anyone to deal with the mess, he didn't have time to explain it further to them. Alex sensed that someone was following him and saw that it was Slayer. If you need anything, I'll help you. Slayer didn't care about the dead bodies at all. Even if he were sentenced to death, he wouldn't have any regrets. He didn't want to make his friend sad. You stay here and protect them. They're my friends, and they're also your friends, Alex told him. Slayer nodded and walked back over to Ben's side. By then, Alex had already rushed out. He was afraid that if he waited too long, something bad would happen to Vivian and her daughter. A black man stopped in front of a restaurant called Connie's. The restaurant didn't look as luxurious as the Yellow Park and the one in the Berkeley Hotel. It was a very important day for the Flag sect's leader, Leo Brooks. That day, Leo and the core members of the Flag sect were at the restaurant to hold their wrap-up meeting for the first half of the year. Out! Vivian and her daughter were pulled out of the car by two tall men and pushed into the restaurant. Mom, I'm afraid, Monica whispered. She had been scared ever since they were taken from the hotel. Don't worry, Monica, don't worry. Mommy will protect you. Vivian tried to comfort her daughter by hugging her. She was also scared, but in front of her daughter she had to pretend to be strong. The restaurant was large inside and divided into several areas. The air was filled with smoke. There were more than 20 large tables occupied by young and middle-aged men who were smoking or drinking. Beautiful, fashionably dressed girls stood beside half of the men, and the sounds of dice shaking could be heard from every corner. These people were all core members of the Flag sect. The purpose of that day's meeting was mainly a discussion between their leader and a few key members. They also went there to have fun and eat. After they finished their discussion, they would announce a few important points. Vivian coughed a few times due to the thick smoke in the room. The mother and daughter pair attracted the attention of several men when they entered. Yo, she's beautiful, said one. She looks so good, said another. You even brought a girl with you. Beautiful girls, follow me, said yet another. You all want to die, right? She's the woman that Dale Granger had his eyes on. If Mr. Granger hears about you flirting with her, he'll skin you, joked one of the hoodlums who had brought Vivian and her daughter in. When the other members heard that it was Granger's woman, they all shrunk back. They didn't dare say anything foolish. Move! The man pushed Vivian further in as the leaders of the Flag sect sat further inside. They reached an open area, which was one step higher than where the surrounding core members were sitting. There was a large round table with a red top with 8 men sitting around it. They were the Flag sect's key members, and they appeared to be deep in discussion. Sitting in the middle was their leader, Leo. His black and white hair was cut short, and there was an air of treachery about him. He was using a red handkerchief to gently polish a piece of jade that the members had given him. Where has Mr. Granger been these past 2 days? It's such an important meeting, and he hasn't even come to greet us. He hasn't even shown himself. One of the leaders was trying to figure out why Dale had not appeared. It's so strange. He's the person who had contributed the most to the Flag sect. The few hotels he's in charge of pay the most protection fees. After the Azure Dragon Society is completely destroyed, our Flag sect will be able to quickly take over New York's underground world, another man said. That's not what the word is on the street. It said that Granger, one of them said mysteriously. He didn't finish his sentence, but everyone else understood what he meant. Their expressions darkened a little as they all looked toward their leader, Leo. Over the past 2 days, the Flag sect had sent out many disciples and spies to search for Granger. However, there had been no news of him, and rumors had spread on the streets that he was already dead. If Granger were to disappear, the impact on the Flag sect would be great. Leo was still leisurely polishing the jade and didn't look worried. What's there to be worried about? Flag sect can't lose a certain leader? Leo's cold gaze swept across the faces of everyone present, causing them to feel uneasy. Right now in New York, who would dare to go against the Flag sect? The Red Gang, the Thunder Gang? Would they dare have the guts? Several of the members spoke among themselves and agreed with what he had said. It was true. With the Flag sect's current power, the other gangs would not dare to fight them. Knowing Leo's attitude, they felt reassured, and they couldn't help but secretly admire him. Of course, although Mr. Granger's effect on the Flag sect isn't too great, his body... Leo had already thought that he may no longer be alive. He looked at the surprised other members. With Dale's personality, if he doesn't show up within 3 days, and if we don't hear any news of his kidnapping, I'm afraid that he's doomed. Everyone was feeling hurt and agreed with Leo. Mr. Granger's body must be found. No matter what the other party's motive may have been, the person who killed him must be severely punished. Leo's eyes turned sinister as he said, Perhaps this person wants to challenge the Flag sect's position, but he's wrong. He's given us a chance to make an example out of him. That's right, said one of the leaders. If we find this person, they're finished, said another. If he dares touch Flag sect ground, he'll be done for, another one agreed. When the leaders heard Leo's enlightened words, they deeply felt that what he said was the truth. They praised him and expressed their loyalty to the Flag sect. Corey had arrived at the restaurant moments before Vivian and her daughter, with a noticeably swollen face that made him look like a... Leo and the leaders were discussing the gang's situation during the first half of the year, so Corey's father Andrew was not in a position to ask him what had happened. When Leo saw Corey's face, he was infuriated. He glanced at Corey's father and pointed at him. Mr. Davis, your son was beaten up. Do you feel proud of him? If this happens again, you two no longer need to come to the Flag sect meetings. Of course not. Please forgive me, Mr. Brooks. This will never happen again under my protection, he said with an apologetic smile. Now that he had been scolded by Leo, Andrew was anxious. With his understanding of Leo, how could he not hear the hidden meaning behind his words? If this happens again in the future, he may have to give up his position as leader of the gang. Andrew could not help but look at Corey with a resentful gaze. Looking at his son's silly-looking face, he felt embarrassed. However, although he was angry, Andrew was very puzzled. Who in New York would dare to beat up his son like that? Looking at his father's stare that was strong enough to kill him, Corey shrank his neck into his shirt collar and looked away. He looked extremely funny. At the Yellow Garden restaurant, and that it was a couple of students. Mr. Brooks, I've brought her here for you. The two men finally saw a pause in the discussion and brought Vivian and her daughter over to Leo's table. Oh. Only then did he stop polishing the jade in his hand. He found this woman to be much more beautiful than the jade. Leo looked at Vivian with an enigmatic smile and said, You're the woman that Dale Granger was chasing. You are indeed very pretty. Tell me, Mr. Granger went looking for you over these past 2 days, right? No. She closed her eyes and felt anxious as the image of Granger in the kitchen came back to her. Leo could tell that Vivian was lying to him. He's dead, right? I said it already. He hasn't come looking for me, Vivian replied in agitation. I hate it when people lie to my face, but today I'll make an exception. Leo maintained a smile on his face. The more he looked at this woman, the more he liked her. Since Mr. Granger must be dead, come over. Come sit beside me. Leo's words were as natural to him as if he were an emperor commanding his... Vivian was so scared that she hugged Monica and took a few steps back. Mom, I'm afraid. They're bad people. Let's leave this place. Even though Monica was a child, her sense of danger was strong. Vivian didn't say anything. She just hugged Monica even tighter and stared at Leo in fear. You're not coming over? Okay. Leo stood up and walked toward her. She tried to run away, but she was caught by two men. Mom, I'm afraid. Monica closed her eyes. When Leo approached the pair and reached out to grab Vivian's hand, Monica opened her eyes. She grabbed his hand and fiercely bit into it. Damn girl, Leo cursed. Monica fell to the floor. Oh, Mom, she cried. As a child, she thought her mother could help her. Leo cursed. No, screamed Vivian and rushed toward Monica. Before his foot landed, she had used her own body to shield her daughter. Leo stood there with his foot in the air, and then put it back down on the floor. You love and protect your daughter very much, but you must know that if... He sneered. But today, I'll give you a chance. If you become my woman, I'll let your little girl go. Although Leo had never seen Vivian before, he had heard from Granger that she was a strong woman. It wasn't that easy to subdue her. It seemed like her little girl was her lifeline, so he took this opportunity to trap her. Vivian slowly pulled Monica up off the floor and gently rubbed the spot where she had fallen. Her eyes were filled with tenderness. Mom, he's bad. You're not. I won't do it either. Monica sobbed to her mother while enduring the intense pain she was feeling. All right, but if Mommy doesn't do it, then Mommy will be in trouble, Vivian said to Monica as tears welled up in her eyes. She glanced at Leo. From her look, Leo tried to understand if Vivian was lying. Okay, I promise you. Vivian stood up and told Leo now that she saw that she had no other choice. Monica didn't make a fuss either. She thought Vivian was only lying to these bad guys. Okay, take her to my room, Leo commanded two of his men. Bam! Ugh! The sounds of broken doors and miserable cries came from the direction of the restaurant entrance. Leo and a few other leaders were startled and looked toward the front door. Everyone from the Flag sect stood up. Vivian's heart trembled as she looked toward the door, but the crowd made it impossible for her to see what was happening. A figure appeared in her mind. What are you doing? Damn it! Who dares interrupt a meeting of the Flag sect? As all the members of the group stood up, they started to shout. Leo and a few of the leaders walked toward the door. They were shocked and angry, wanting to see what kind of person was brave enough to come in and cause trouble in their territory. Vivian pulled Monica and followed behind them. The members of the Flag sect stood aside and made a path for Leo and the leaders while the rest surrounded them or stood behind them. At the door, 4 or 5 gangsters were rolling around on the ground in pain, surrounded by a layer of gray fog. At the entrance stood 4 tall, strong young men, 2 on each side of the door. They were probably the bodyguards of the intruders, and the real big shots had not arrived yet. Leo let out a heavy sigh. Looking at the night sky outside of the door, he wanted to see who it was that dared to come and mess with him in his territory. Very soon, a group of people walked in. Leo's eyes narrowed slightly. The one who was leading the group was the manager of New York's Berkeley Hotel, Sam Woodsworth. Behind Sam was a young man who looked like a student who was surrounded by a dozen burly young men. When Leo saw the young man, a hint of doubt flashed through his mind. Who is this young man? He thought. Sam had an extremely high position in New York, How could a young man have a higher position than him? Leo's gaze was fixed on Sam's face. When Vivian saw the young man, her heart softened and she almost cried. He had come to save her. The man who looked like a student was Alex. "It's him! Dad, it's the guy who beat me up!" Corey could not help but exclaim as he pointed at Alex. When he noticed Leo's gaze, Corey timidly shut his mouth. "Alex!" Monica cried out, and Vivian covered her mouth. Seeing that Vivian and her daughter were all right, Alex heaved a sigh of relief. When he saw that some of Monica's clothing had been torn, his heart ached again. "I see. It's Sam Woodsworth. Could you explain to me what's going on? Why have you offended our flag sect?" Leo pointed to the messy floor. "Why do I need to explain? You're just a tiny branch of the flag sect. What are you being so cocky about? Hurry up and let Miss Vivian go," Sam said, feeling embarrassed and angry. He had been working in New York for many years, on both sides of the law. Even the leader of the Azure Dragon Society, Quentin Robbins, had to be polite to him when he saw him. Hearing Sam's words, Leo naturally felt uncomfortable. He knew Sam had some influence in New York, and perhaps he really should listen to what he was saying. But the flag sect was now New York's biggest gang, so why should he show him any respect? Leo thought that this might be the day that would put him on equal footing with Sam, or perhaps he could beat him that day. "Oh, so Mr. Woodsworth is here to ask me for a person. Ha!" Leo smiled lightly, and with a trace of an intimidating aura, he said, "An important person should have the attitude of an important person. Today, Mr. Woodsworth damaged my restaurant and even injured my people." "You!" Sam was filled with anger. In all these years, there had never been anyone in New York who dared to speak to him in such a manner. You what? You'd better pay for all the damage here. Otherwise, don't blame me if something happens to your Berkeley hotel," Leo said fiercely and then shouted. "Corey, come here." Yes." Corey walked to Leo's side. His father also followed and stood beside his son. "It was the brat behind Sam who hit you, right?" Leo looked at Alex, who was standing behind Sam, and said with a sinister smile, "I suppose you think so too, Sam." Leo looked at Sam provocatively and ordered again, "What are you waiting for? Go." Leo was determined to show off his power to Sam. "Leo, don't you dare!" Sam roared in anger. He didn't expect that with his status, he would not be able to shake Leo. "Brat, so you're Sam's man. No wonder you're so... You beat me up like this, so I'm going to get you," Corey said with his sinister smile, looking at Alex. "So it was you who hit my son. Damn you, I'm going to give you a beating," Corey's father said angrily. He rolled up his sleeves, revealing his thick arms. "Protect him," Sam roared. A dozen men instantly surrounded Alex. "Son, on Flag Sect's territory, they won't dare make a move. Today your father will show you how mighty he is." All the people in the room were looking at them now. As a leader, he definitely could not allow the prestige of his Flag Sect to be undermined. "Let's get this guy. Let the other gangs in New York see what we can do. No one will dare to cause trouble here in the future." Corey's courage increased as he stood firm in the gang's territory. With that, father and son raised their fists and rushed in front of Sam and his men with a roar. "Protect him!" Sam shouted angrily. A dozen men surrounding Alex instantly surrounded the father and son. When they stepped aside, the pair had been beaten and had fallen to the floor. Looking at them lying on the ground like Leo's eyes twitched as if he was about to spew out the fire. "Leo, get them!" shouted one. "How dare they behave so badly in our territory?" shouted another. "Sir, please give us the order," shouted yet another member. Leo slowly raised his hand and signaled for the members to stop shouting. He had his plans. "Sam, I'll give you one last chance. Take your men and get the hell out of here. I'll be kind and let you go," Leo said as he gritted his teeth. "Do you think you're qualified to let me go? I think you've lived in New York for 2 years and forgotten your place." This time, Sam felt it was not his lucky day. He could ignore his reputation and back down, but that would mean losing face for Alex and the Ambrose family. He blamed himself, but he was also extremely angry. "I also brought you a big gift this time," Sam said as he took out a blue plastic box. The box shattered on the ground, and a round thing rolled out. The flag sect members were all shocked. Many women screamed. "Ah!" It was a head. It was none other. The missing Dale Granger. Originally, Sam had been brought there to intimidate Leo, but he had never had the chance to throw the box out. Now he was flustered and exasperated, so he had thrown it at them. This is bad, Alex thought. Sam is acting too fast. This is going to make Leo angry. Leo felt a ball of fire rush to his head. He was being bullied. He shouted, "Let's get them!" The members of the gang all shouted and rushed towards Sam and his group. Some of them had blades in their hands, while some even picked up chairs and threw them toward Alex and Sam's men. There were more than 150 people at the meeting that day, and Alex's group had only less than 20 people. "Protect Alex!" Sam shouted. Things quickly evolved beyond his expectations, and Sam's immediate priority was to not let Alex get hurt, or he would be guilty of negligence. A dozen men stood in front of Alex like a barrier. Even though Sam had brought the strongest men under his command, no matter how powerful they were, it was still impossible for them to deal with so many enemies at once. Facing this tide of attacks, these dozen men only managed to block the crowd for 5 minutes before they gradually fell to the ground. They were surrounded and beaten by the flag sect members. But there were only 4 or 5 men left, who formed a circle to surround and protect Alex and Sam. They used their bodies as shields to prevent the 2 men from getting hurt. A gap opened up in the circle, and one of the flag sect members threw a chair toward Alex. In that moment of life or death, Sam shielded Alex as the chair broke on Sam's body. He fell limply to the ground. "Stop!" Leo shouted. The gang members stopped. After witnessing Sam shield Alex, he became very curious. What kind of clout did this young man have? With Sam's honorable status, he still appeared to want to protect this youth. "Mr. Woodsworth, are you hurt?" Alex helped Sam up, feeling very guilty. "It's all right. It's good that you're fine, sir." Blood trickled down the corner of his mouth. He only knew that his duty was to protect Alex. Alex was moved by Sam's loyalty. "Sir?" thought Leo. Now that Sam was weakened, he no longer had anything to fear. Instead, he became interested in Alex. Who is this young man that Sam appears to answer? Leo wondered. "May I ask which family you're from? Tell me," Leo asked him. Alex helped Sam up onto a chair. "You injured Mr. Woodsworth and so many of his men. Your flag sect is already destined to disappear. Release Vivian and her daughter if you want me to spare your life," Alex said coldly to Leo. He had the temperament of a man from a very wealthy family. No matter how he looked at him, this young man was a complex character. It was clear that Alex, Sam, and their men were all defeated and that he couldn't challenge him anymore. So why was he so calm and arrogant? Leo couldn't figure it out. So he stopped thinking about it. The young man might well be from some wealthy family in New York, but once the news that he had defeated Sam got out, it would establish his position as ruler of New York. So what if this was the son of a wealthy family? Why would he still need to be afraid of him? The flag sect's members began to ridicule Alex. "Aren't you a useless young man? Then I'll think of letting you go," Leo said viciously. "All right," shouted one member. The members of the flag sect were all waiting for a good show. "Why aren't you lying down?" Leo asked mockingly as he looked at Alex. "This is your chance to live. I'm not sure that you fully understand the consequences if you don't do what I tell you. I might decide to—" "That's right, only humans stand upright," laughed another. "Quickly get on the floor. Your master is waiting for you to obey." Alex clenched his fists tightly and hissed, "Leo, I'm warning you. You're playing with fire." He had never been as angry as he was now. But these men had Vivian and Monica. And the lives of Sam and his men were also in his hands. He had to restrain himself. Leo raised his hand and silenced the crowd. "I guess he has guts. Since he's here, he's our guest, so we won't make things too difficult for him yet," Leo said with a smile. His gaze suddenly turned toward Vivian, who shuddered. Leo said to Alex, "So, you came back for Vivian. Sorry, but you're too late. She's already agreed to be my woman. It seems like you want her for yourself, so I guess I'll need to convince you that she's already mine." He grabbed Vivian's wrist. Don't, she said fearfully. But she had no chance of stopping Leo as he pulled her to him. "Mom, let go of my mom," Monica screamed. She had been captured by two of the flag sect subordinates. "Leo, I'm warning you," Alex said angrily. "Huh, what's wrong with you? I've already beaten your bodyguard, Sam, and now you think you can beat me on your own? Who else are you going to find in New York to protect you?" Leo laughed arrogantly. "Come on, sweetheart." He grabbed Vivian's arm and moved closer to her. Alex could no longer suppress his temper and rushed toward Leo, shouting, "Let her go!" He knew full well that if he wasn't careful. However, when he saw Vivian being publicly humiliated like this, he couldn't control himself. "Alex, stop!" cried Vivian. She no longer cared what happened to her, but she didn't want Alex to be hurt or killed because of her. He was stopped by the people from the flag sect. "Don't hit him. That's much more fun than hitting him," Leo said to the subordinates who grabbed Alex. "Okay," they replied, holding Alex down in front of him. "Are you ready for me?" Leo asked, and his gaze shifted to Vivian. Alex was almost bursting with anger. Leo sneered at him and thought, once he's suffered a bit more, Suddenly they all heard, "Bam, bam, bam!" Several gunshots rang out. Everyone was startled as they looked around in horror. The men holding Alex fell to the ground. "Boss!" shouted one of his subordinates in terror. Another asked, "What should we do?" The rest of the flag sect members were appalled. They were all looking around hysterically, some with trembling legs. Boom, boom. The glass above the restaurant shattered, and 8 black shadows jumped down through it. "You," Leo shouted. "Flag sect." The moment they landed on the ground, the intruders took out another 4 or 5 of Leo's men. To Leo, they looked like ferocious tigers charging into a field of sheep. His men were simply no match for them. They were screaming miserably and running frantically to the exits, trying to escape. Most were colliding with doors and tables, and some even flew into the walls. Less than 2 minutes later, only 20 of the 150 gang members were still standing. These individuals weren't particularly good fighters. They had just managed to stay out of the way so far. "No!" cried Leo. He couldn't believe what he was watching. His flag sect had won numerous blood battles against other gangs and had always come out on top. They were by far the strongest gang in New York, but they had been defeated by just 8 people. He needed to know who these people were. He realized that the intruders were there to save Alex, so he decided that he could use him as a shield to ensure his safety. But before he could even get close to him, one of the intruders attacked him. "Ah!" he screamed miserably, In a very short period, all of the 150 gang members were lying on the ground. 8 tall young men were now standing in front of Alex, bowing their heads in apology. One said, "We're sorry we got here so late. Alex, please forgive us." They were from the Ambrose family security team, Squad 3. This was the squad that had destroyed the Azure Dragon Society. Before coming to the Flag Sect's headquarters, Alex had taken the precaution of summoning the security team. When he called them, he found out that Squad 3 was already close by. Fortunately, they had arrived just in time. "No problem," Alex said calmly. He didn't care at all about the late arrival of the security team. He was completely focused on Leo, who was groaning in pain on the ground. Alex moved the security team members out of his way and walked over to him. When he saw Alex approaching him, Leo stopped screaming. His expression became one of terror. "I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. You can take her with her. You have her. Please let me go," Leo stuttered, shuffling back slowly. "I told you to release Vivian. Did you not hear me?" Alex bit his lips and said, "Remember what you said to me?" "Yes, I was wrong. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'll learn now." Leo's arms could no longer move. Kneeling on the ground, he barked twice. "Was that good enough? If not, I'll try again. Woof, woof, woof." How easy life would be if apologies meant anything, Alex said with a sneer. Leo now lay simply on the ground. He whimpered, "Spare me, please, spare my life. I just want to live. I don't want to die. Give me a chance." "Give me your gun." Alex stretched out his hand, and a member of Squad 3 handed him a pistol. "I beg of you, don't. I don't want to die," Leo cried in anguish. "I warned you before, so you only have yourself to blame. You should have listened to my advice," Alex muttered and handed back the pistol. "Take Mr. Woodsworth to the hospital now," Alex instructed Sam's men who helped him out. "Alex, what should we do with these people?" the Squad 3 leader asked. "Destroy the Flag Sect. But you can let the men stay in New York as long as they don't do anything out of line." Alex thought of Vivian's man. If they were to annihilate the Flag Sect as they had the Azure Dragon Society, it would cause more problems. Alex's instructions to the security team were that they should closely monitor New York's underworld. They should allow the gangs to continue, but they must act within the law. "I'm so sorry," Alex said as he walked to Vivian's side. He felt terrible about what Leo had done to her. She had relaxed and was grateful to him for saving her from the gang leader. She lowered her head and smiled shyly, saying, "I never imagined that you have so much power. Even Sam Woodsworth works for you. I thought you were just a university student." "Vivian, it was me who cleared out the Azure Dragon Society." Alex wanted to explain to her that it was his fault that her man had left, but that he had been trying to do something good. "I know, it's okay." She had blamed the man who had destroyed the Azure Dragon Society for driving her boyfriend away. But now she knew that it was Alex. She didn't feel angry anymore. She trusted him and was certain that he had acted with the best intentions. Finally, Alex asked the security team to take care of everything, and he left Connie's. With Vivian and Monica, he took a cab to the Azalea guest house. He had planned to stay there that night. The next day, Alex went to the hospital to check on Sam. Fortunately, his injuries weren't serious, and he only had to stay there for a few days to recuperate. Even though Ben and Carl were also in the same hospital, Tanya and Brittany were with them, so Alex didn't need to stay. As for Vivian and her daughter, he paid for them to stay at the Azalea guest house for the time being. They had no desire to go back to their home. He bought a live chicken and returned to his villa to give it to Grandma before returning to school. On his way to the campus, he received a call from Susan, who said, "Alex, thank you for shopping with us last week. Rose and I would love to treat you to a drink at the Angel Bar tonight. Are you free?" "What's going on?" Alex asked himself. The drinks were Susan's idea, but Rose seems to be going along with it, even though she still hates me. I know that Susan and Joe are an item, but it still doesn't feel right. He was very suspicious and felt that he couldn't refuse. Sure, Alex agreed. Great, 8 o'clock tonight. Rose and I'll be waiting for you. See you later. Susan ended the call. Rose was sitting beside her, and she was pleased when she heard Alex's reply. The other night, when they had been kidnapped by Lucille, who had pretended to be blind, they had finally been saved by a mysterious young man. They had since worked out that the young man was possibly Alex. They were mystified by him and had agreed together that they should spy on him and find out if he was hiding his true identity. They suspected that he was really from a powerful family. Over the next few days, they had watched him closely, but Alex's behavior at school hadn't changed at all. Susan felt that if they spent more time with him, they would find out his true identity. They were becoming increasingly intrigued by Alex and wanted to know if he was the powerful young man who had rescued them. For that reason, they decided to invite him out for a drink so that they could observe him closely and find out who he was. When they thought back over that day, they were 70% sure that he was hiding something from them. They convinced themselves that his secret was that he was from an extremely powerful family. Look at you! You haven't even seen him yet and you're grinning. What'll he be like when we meet up with him? Susan teased Rose. I'm not grinning. Rose was still unwilling to admit it, but she couldn't hide the smile on her face. Susan, do you think that Alex really is our mysterious rescuer? Thinking about it, it probably is him. How else do you explain the 2 bracelets? Yes, you're right, Rose replied softly. But how are we going to ask him? Should we just ask him directly? Oh, Rose, you're crazy about him, aren't you? Susan lightly hit Rose's head. If you ask him straight out, do you think he'll tell you the truth? We have to be clever about it and not let him see through us. That way we can slowly uncover his true identity. Then she leaned over to her and asked in a low voice, Rose, tell me honestly, have you fallen for Alex? When Rose didn't respond, Susan rubbed her shoulder again. Just say it, don't worry. I have Joe. I won't steal Alex from you. If he really is our mysterious hero, then of course I like him. Who doesn't like a hero? Rose replied. But if it wasn't him, I'll still think of him as a loser, and I wouldn't be interested in him. At least you're honest. Come on, let's go back to the dorm to get ready. We're meeting Alex at the Angel Bar in a couple of hours, Susan said, and they headed toward the dorm. At 7:30, Alex was walking toward the bar when he received a call from Robert Miller of the First Republic Bank. Mr. Ambrose, 2 days ago I bought Lawrence Heights for you for $125 million. I've already spoken with Mr. Stokes, and we have all the documentation prepared. Where are you now? I'll bring everything to you in person. Robert was very excited, as it was the first time that he had been involved in such an expensive purchase. Additionally, Ken Stokes had promised him a $10,000 commission. That's excellent news, but I don't have time right now. How about if I contact you in the next few days and arrange a time to come in to see you? Alex thought that he should learn how to deal with these matters himself rather than relying on Ken Stokes. Robert agreed. After ending the call, Alex went into the bar. Alex, we're over here, Susan waved at him. Rose stayed seated at the table, sipping her wine. She didn't look in Alex's direction, but her grip on the wine glass tightened. Come and sit down. We've already ordered a cognac for you. Is that still what you drink? Susan was determined to treat Alex very cordially. She was sure he would turn out to be rich. Thank you, that's great. Alex smiled politely. He glanced at Rose and saw that she was intentionally not looking at him, but continuing to sip her drink quietly. Alex sighed and thought, if you don't want to see me, why did you invite me here? However, Alex completely misunderstood why Rose was refusing to make eye contact with him. It wasn't because she hated him like before. It was because she was nervous, and she was afraid that if she suddenly became very friendly toward him, he would be suspicious. "Rose, Alex is here. Why don't you say hello to him?" Susan whispered into her friend's ear in an attempt to smooth things over. "You're here," Rose said, as she lifted her head slightly and glanced at Alex. He was surprised by her friendly expression because she usually looked at him with disgust. This glance seemed awkward but tender. He was confused. He looked at Rose again. Her makeup was exquisite, and she appeared more beautiful than he had ever seen her. She sat quietly on the seat, looking magnificent. The girls exchanged pleasantries with him. Then, after glancing at each other, they began their plan. "Alex, why haven't heard you mention your family before? Tell us about them." Susan brought up the topic naturally. "My family's very ordinary. My parents are both farmers, and I'm the first one to go to university." This question didn't trouble him too much. During his 7 years of family training in poverty, he had learned a detailed set of explanations. Susan asked 2 or 3 more questions, and he answered them calmly. The girls looked at each other with puzzled expressions. Susan signaled with her eyes, and they continued to question Alex. They were determined to find some clues to his true identity. "I see that you haven't been at school for a long time. Where have you been?" asked Rose. He replied, "I went out to work. I'm sure Joe told you that I work part-time to cover my living expenses." Susan continued to quiz him. "Alex, do you understand business? Rose and I are very interested. Tell us about it." "You're thinking too highly of me. How would I know anything about business? As you know, my specialty is gardening, specifically planting trees." The girls continued to fire questions at him. "Do you know how the super wealthy educate their children? What do you think of the current stock market? Have you ever been to the Berkeley Hotel? In the future, what industry do you want to get into?" In reply to all their questions, Alex always said that he didn't know, and didn't want to go there. Most of his answers were honest. The Ambrose family had many employees, so they didn't need to personally understand all the details about how their businesses were run. His answers confused Susan and Rose. They asked questions that they believed someone from a wealthy family would be able to answer, and they were sure that he didn't notice that they were trying to catch him out. When he couldn't answer a single question, they started to think they'd been wrong. Alex was a loser, and he wasn't from a wealthy family after all. Rose heaved a sigh of relief. "Alex, I remember that when we went to the night market, you were the one who took the 2 woven bracelets that the old lady gave you and Rose, right?" Susan asked. Rose's eyes brightened a little. After the kidnapping, they had found 2 bracelets in the Maserati. If it turned out that Alex hadn't lost them that night, they could be sure that it wasn't him who had saved them. "Yeah, why?" he answered. Without thinking, he took the 2 bracelets out of his pocket. Seeing the bracelets, the girls were overjoyed. They felt that they would know soon Alex's identity. "Let me take a look." Rose took one of the bracelets from his hand and looked at it. It seemed to be one of the ones from the night market. "Can I check? Have you ever lost these or accidentally left them somewhere?" she asked, fiddling with the bands. If he told them that he had left them in the car, then they would know for sure that their rescuer was Alex, and that he had been concealing his true self from them. "Indeed I have," Alex started to reply. Then he suddenly sensed that something was wrong. Why were Susan and Rose asking me all those questions earlier about economics, the Berkeley Hotel, and the education of rich children? Now I understand. They were trying to find out my true identity. When he looked at the girl's twinkling eyes, he was sure that he was right. But why are they asking me whether I've ever lost the bracelets? Alex wondered. Then he suddenly remembered what had happened that day. He had left the bracelets in the car, and later on, his men found them for him. It was the same car that went to pick up Rose and Susan. Finally, he understood what the girls were up to. They were using the bracelets to unmask him. He didn't trust Rose and was determined not to reveal his identity to them. He continued cautiously. The last time I ate in the cafeteria, the bracelets fell out of my pocket. Fortunately, I saw them, otherwise they'd be lost. Alex had changed his explanation at the last minute. The cafeteria? They were surprised. Rose continued to pry. Have you ever lost them anywhere else? For example... She wanted to ask Alex directly if he had lost the bracelets in the Maserati, but that would be too obvious. She definitely couldn't just come out with it. Oh, I remember. He hesitated, really wanting to think of something plausible. Where? The girls looked excited. In the car, he said. What car? Rose asked innocently. No, on the bus. I gave my seat to an elderly lady on the bus. Seeing that the lady over there just reminded me. Alex played dumb. The girls held their heads in their hands. They were on the verge of giving up. What's going on with you two? Alex asked the girls. He felt a bit guilty, but he was determined not to reveal his identity to Rose. Nothing, Susan replied. Then she chirped up and said, Alex, think about it again. Did you lose them somewhere else? You said that you lost them on the bus, but maybe you left them in someone's car at some point? Now, Alex was certain that he knew the girls' intentions. They're trying to find out if it was me who left the bracelets. Then they'll know who I am. I need to find a way to get these two off my back, he thought. I really can't remember apart from those 2 times. But I do remember that on that day we went to the night market, a lot of other people bought bracelets from the old lady. I found a few lying on the ground around her stall. Alex's words rang true to both Susan and Rose. That's right, they thought. It wasn't just us who bought bracelets that night. Other people bought them too. Then the bracelets that we saw in the market might not be Alex's. They could belong to a different young man who, by coincidence, had also bought them at the night market. The moment he suggested that someone else might have bought the same bracelets, Alex saw the girls' expressions change. They no longer looked at him with eagerness, as they considered the possibility that Alex wasn't their rich savior. Susan and Rose looked at each other. They knew they were thinking the same thing. They had both concluded that Alex was not the hero who had saved them that day. Rose felt annoyed. Now she was sure that he was just a poor student at the university, and she had taken a long time getting dressed that evening to look her best to meet him. She said huffily, One last question. Susan and I were kidnapped from the night market by Lucille Brennan. You were there, but did you do anything to help us? Alex was momentarily at a loss for words. He couldn't say that he had secretly helped them, and he couldn't say that he didn't do anything at all. Besides, Alex still remembered that Rose had told him that whatever happened to her had nothing to do with him. You can't say, right? Did you do anything at all to help us? Rose sneered as she looked at him. Joe asked you to go with us to protect us. How did you protect us? Tell us. Susan, go back and tell Joe that his friend is useless. Tell him to have nothing more to do with him, so he won't be tricked by him in the future. Susan put her arm around her shoulder. Rose, you... Although it turned out that they were wrong about Alex's identity, it wasn't his fault. He had never pretended to be the rich guy who had saved them. Rose was being too hard on him. Alex, you leave now. I'll stay with Rose, Susan said to him with a frown. He grunted in reply. You wanted to leave. Rose is so obnoxious, he thought. I don't think we'll ever get on well with each other. I think it'll be much better if we don't meet each other again in the future. Rose threw Alex's bracelets onto the ground. He picked them up quickly and blew off the dust. He put them in his pocket and quickly left the Angel Bar. The next 2 days passed by relatively smoothly. Robert brought him regular updates about Lawrence Heights, the apartment complex that he was buying. He had to focus on all the information that he and the other 2 real estate professionals were giving him to understand everything fully. In addition to reading all the information that he was given about Lawrence Heights, Alex also listened attentively to Ken Stokes' daily progress reports on the search for Debbie. They already had some information on her whereabouts, but it was limited. It still felt like looking for a needle in a haystack, and Alex reminded himself that he had to be patient. He chose to believe that no news was good news for now. He was sure that when Ken had more information, he would find her. Sometimes at night, Alex would think about Debbie and feel very sad. But he told himself to be strong. Moping around won't help him find her. He had to be proactive. Luckily, the information that Robert brought provided a temporary distraction from worrying about Debbie. After 3 days, Alex had read enough information on Lawrence Heights, but he felt he should go and see it in person. He called for a cab and made his way there. He had decided that he was going to rent an apartment in the complex as a university student who had just stepped into society. He wanted to experience the management of the property firsthand. He made his way to the office on the first floor of A block, which, according to the online particulars about the complex, was where the rental arrangements were handled. When he walked into the office, he found a man and a woman arguing passionately in front of the desk. Neither of them paid him any attention as he entered. He coughed, and finally they looked over at him. His first impression of them was poor, and he frowned slightly. If this was the first thing potential new clients saw when they came to inquire about renting apartments, their impression of Lawrence Heights would not be good. "Hello, do you want to rent an apartment?" the woman asked Alex. Finally, she had regained her composure. The man stayed sitting to one side, picking his nails. He wasn't doing any work, and he didn't even glance at Alex. He was acting like he was relaxing in his living room. Alex asked politely, "Hello, I've just graduated from university and I don't have a job yet. I want to rent an apartment, but I don't have much money on me, about $1,000. As he spoke, the woman kept checking her cell phone. She appeared to have no interest at all in what Alex was saying. She pushed a promotional brochure in front of him and said, "Take a look at what's available yourself. There's all the information. Tell me once you've chosen." Then she turned away and looked at her phone again. Alex sighed. The promotional brochure only gave a very brief overview for people to read quickly. There wasn't much information in it. He thought, as the office receptionist, it's your job to find suitable apartments for the clients. But you seem to think it's good enough just to shove a promotional booklet in front of them. Alex started to look through the promotional brochure. He found that the information provided on the apartments was quite comprehensive, and there were also pictures. He glanced at it briefly and randomly chose one. He was just about to speak to the woman about the next steps when a soft voice came from the door. "Hello, is this the rental office?" Alex turned around and saw a pretty girl walk in through the door. She was wearing jeans and a loose shirt. Her skin was so white that it shone, and her hair was rolled into a bun on top of her head. The girl nodded to Alex in greeting, walked to the desk, and politely asked, "Hello, I'd like to rent an apartment here. How do I go about it? Do you need to see identification? I can show you my passport." Alex couldn't help but smile. The girl seemed very young and inexperienced. She had never rented a property on her own before, so she didn't know that she didn't need to hand her passport over straight away. "I don't need to see your passport. What do you want to rent?" The woman working in the office was quite abrupt with the girl. She looked a bit jealous of her. She was even ruder than she had been with Alex. The man beside her looked at the girl for a long time. The woman had to gently punch his arm to stop him from staring. The woman gave the girl a promotional brochure and said, "Look for yourself. Let me know when you've chosen one." "Oh, okay," the girl answered obediently. "I've chosen this apartment," Alex told the woman as he pointed it out on the brochure. She told him, "This apartment has 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, and a bathroom. It's $3,000 a month. I need to see some ID, then we'll get the paperwork sorted out right now." "Aren't you going to show me the apartment?" Alex asked. He was even more disgusted with her apathetic attitude. He asked himself, are these 2 employees just plain lazy? The promotional brochure describes it clearly. What you see there is what you get, the woman replied. She felt that her approach was perfectly reasonable. If you want to see it, that's fine. Here's the key. You can go yourself. She found the key and gave it to Alex. He was speechless. They weren't afraid of giving keys out to anyone that asked. As the new owner of this apartment complex, Alex was deeply worried about this irresponsible attitude. Here's my ID. He handed the woman his driver's license and some recent bills. He had achieved his goal, which was to find out how the rental office worked, what the staff who ran it were like. The girl who had arrived after Alex had been studying the brochure. She looked up at the woman and said, I choose this one. Alex looked over and noticed that she had picked the same apartment as him. When the girl realized that Alex had already chosen the apartment she wanted, she smiled awkwardly and said, Oh, you're gonna rent that one. That's okay, I'll have another look. She turned back to the brochure to choose a different one. At that moment, a tall man walked in. He looked to be in his 30s. He was very smartly dressed in black trousers and a light blue shirt. Mr. Gellor! Both the office staff greeted the man with a smile. The man was the rental manager at Lawrence Heights, Philip Gellor. He nodded at the two staff members. Then he saw the girl standing looking at the brochure, and his eyes lit up. Hello there, are you here to rent an apartment? He asked as he walked over to the girl. His heart skipped a beat as he looked at her angelic face. Yes, the girl nodded. I wanted this apartment, but this gentleman has already chosen it. Now I'm trying to decide on a different one. Oh dear. Philip looked at Alex and pulled him to the side. He whispered, Sir, let me recommend a much better apartment for you at $2,500 a month. Why not let this young lady take that one? It's clearly her first time renting a property on her own. Let's help her out. Alex thought, all the apartments have set rental fees that are laid out in the brochure. But as the rental manager at Lawrence Heights, you're choosing to secretly offer me a discount so you can offer the pretty girl the apartment that she wants? Who's going to cover the loss of income? However, as he had already decided to let the girl take the apartment, he told the manager that he would accept his proposal. Philip walked back to the girl and said, I have good news. This young man has decided against renting the apartment. It's available for you to rent. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. The girl repeatedly thanked Alex and Philip. She assumed that Philip had convinced Alex to let her have the apartment, and she felt very grateful to him for looking out for her. Fantastic. Here's my ID. It's $3,000 for the first month's rent, right? I have the cash here, the girl said as she started to take her passport and cash out of her pocket. Leave that for now. Philip walked over to the girl again and smiled gently. He said, I'll take you to view the apartment first to see if you like it. If you do, then we'll come back to the office to sort out the paperwork and payment. Thank you, Mr. Gellor, the girl said with a broad smile. She was so excited about the apartment and felt so grateful to him for his attentiveness. Let's go, he said as he smiled back. Then Philip and the girl walked out of the office together. Watching them leave, Alex felt a little uneasy. He felt wary of Philip. He thought he might have hidden darkness beneath his kind exterior. He asked himself, could it be an illusion? After all, any man would want to go out of their way to help such a sweet and pretty girl, wouldn't they? He approached the woman and asked her, why was that girl taken to view the apartment, but no one offered to take me? She hesitated, but finally she said, she's a young girl renting her first apartment, so she needs a little more help, that's all. There was no argument to that. Alex had had enough of talking with this woman, so he took the key and went to look at the other apartment. After he had left, the woman punched the man hard on his arm. She had a ferocious look on her face. Hey, what are you doing? The man asked, rubbing his arm. What am I doing? You couldn't take your eyes off that girl. She snorted and turned her head away. Okay, I'll admit it, she was very pretty. But you know that I only have eyes for you. To me, you're the most beautiful woman in the world, darling. Don't be angry. The man's expression was playful as he gently tugged on her hand. Go home and tell your wife all about it, she said angrily. Oh, baby, I've admitted my wrongs. What else do you want me to do? You should be shouting at Philip. He just went off with her. You know I could never challenge Philip, the woman replied, deep in thought. I've worked at Lawrence Heights for 3 years now, and I know exactly what Philip is like. He's handsome and well-dressed, and I know he looks like a good gentleman. But you have to see past that. The fact is, he lusts after and tries to woo the female employees in the company. He's also really stingy, she thought. Wining and dining beautiful with women is expensive, so recently he had started trying to take advantage of his position at Lawrence Heights to attract pretty female tenants by offering them discounts and other benefits. Philip operates by offering the attractive tenant a discount to gain her trust. Then he finds a way to build up his relationship with her and finally asks her out. Usually the girl trusts him and enjoys the attention of such a generous and handsome man. Then when he gets bored with her, he moves on to the next target, the receptionist muttered to herself. To the employees who had worked in the company for a long time, this was an open secret that they had no choice but to accept. Deep in thought, the woman turned and looked at the man. Darling, you're so beautiful. Let me hug you, he said as he pulled her into his arms. When do you think the senior managers will find out about Philip? She asked him softly. Who knows? He's worked here 5 or 6 years and most people already know. It's amazing that none of the bosses have found out about it. I'm also surprised that none of the tenants have called the police. You're still thinking about that girl, the woman accused. No, I wasn't thinking about her specifically, the man quickly explained with a smile. In my eyes, there's no one who can compare to my baby. You're talking nonsense. Tell me, though, is my better than your wife's? Of course it is. Alex arrived at the door of his new rental apartment and was about to put his key into the lock when the door next to his opened. A young woman leaned out and looked him up and down. Her face was exquisite. Her hair was black and shiny, and her eyes were full of spirit, giving him the impression that she was extremely intelligent and capable. If Alex had been able to stay in the ward longer when he had visited Rose, he would have recognized her as Rose's aunt, Sue Bradley. You must be a new tenant. I heard something from next door, so I came to take a look. Sue walked over to him and smiled. Hello, I'm Sue. Nice to meet you, I'm Alex, he replied. I'm guessing that you've just left university? I remember when I first graduated, I was worried all the time about finding work. My advice to you is to not worry too much. You've got plenty of time to figure things out, and I'm sure you'll find the right job soon, Sue said chattily. Oh, and as this is probably your first time renting your own place, I can tell you everything that I've learned from experience. First of all, don't use the bedding and towels in the room. Sue told him about her experiences of renting apartments. Suddenly, she stopped and said, Sorry, I'm talking too much. I haven't even let you go in yet. Do you want me to help you set it up? No need, I'll set it up myself, he said with a smile. Well, you know where I am if you need anything, Sue said. Then she went back to her apartment. Alex smiled. Although he was only renting an apartment as a cover, it had been great to meet his passionate, lively, and generous neighbor. He entered his new apartment and looked around. He was quite satisfied with its size and condition and felt that the rent was reasonable. Then he lay on the bed. Thinking back through his day, he knew for certain that there were a lot of problems with the managers in the Lawrence Heights rental office. He thought, I'm going to have to filter out some of the staff. Anyone that doesn't conform to the rules will have to be removed. Only then will this business operate profitably. Meanwhile, in the other apartment, the pretty girl was saying to Philip, Thank you so much for today, Mr. Gellor. Without you, I really don't know what I would have done. She was sincere in her gratitude. He had brought her to view the apartment, and then he had personally explained the procedures for renting it to her. He had even helped her rearrange it. What are you thanking me for? Stop calling me Mr. Gellor. You should call me Phil. If you have any problems at all, just call me or send me a message, he said with a gentle smile. Thank you so much, she answered sweetly. Now, since you've just arrived in New York, you must be tired. I won't bother you anymore. Have a good rest in your new home, Philip said as he walked toward the door. Bye, Phil. Thank you so much. The girl stood at the door and waved to him. Then she walked back inside. Seeing that the girl had gone back inside, he pulled out his cell phone. He looked at the girl's website and with a lewd smile on his face, pressed a few buttons. He looked like a completely different person from a few moments before when he had been helping the young woman. He murmured, "In 1 month, my little darling, you'll be mine. I'm looking forward to the day that I click my fingers and you come running." These naive little girls were his perfect prey. The moment he saw the girl, he had already outlined in his mind the steps he would take to... He put away his phone. This one could wait for now. He wanted to check in on his other prey, who had been working on for several months. He felt that it was time to make his move. He went back to his office, checked his appearance in the mirror, and took a packet of Viagra from his desk drawer. Then he went to his victim's door and knocked. It was Sue who opened the door. She smiled and said, "Mr. Gellor, please come in." She was a little nervous as she opened the door, feeling embarrassed to see him because she knew that she owed rent for 4 months. He had been very generous and patient and allowed her to continue staying there. He said she should pay the rent whenever she could. He went into her living room. "I'll get you a drink," she said as he made himself comfortable on the sofa. "Miss Bradley, have you found a job yet?" Philip asked, eyeing up Sue's. He was starting to get aroused. Parts of his anatomy started to grow. Sue's heart sank and she became anxious. She tried to think of the best way to respond. Finally, she said nervously, "Not yet, but I've been searching as hard as I can. I believe I'll find one soon. Please, give me a few more days." "I really want to help you out of this situation, but as you can see, I've already allowed you to stay here for almost 4 months without paying rent. I'm just the middleman, and I'm also under a lot of pressure from my manager." His words made Sue even more anxious. "I'm so sorry. I never wanted to put you in a difficult position. I understand. I'll just have to move out." She didn't want to cause trouble for him either. "I'm afraid you can't just move out. You still owe us 4 months of rent. A few days ago, Lawrence Heights changed ownership, and I'm sure the new owner won't be happy with this situation. If he finds out that I've let you stay here for 4 months without paying rent, not only will I have to pay your debt myself, but I'm sure I won't have a future in the company," Philip said with a worried frown. "What?" Sue had never imagined that letting her stay rent-free for the past 4 months would have serious consequences for him, and she knew that she could never afford to pay the rent arrears of nearly $8,000. "I'm so sorry. I never wanted to get you into trouble. It's my fault. What should I do?" she muttered anxiously. Seeing her remorseful expression, Philip felt that the time was about right. "Actually, there might be a way that you can make it up to me," he said as he stood up. He walked to the door, locked it, and walked back to the window. He pulled the curtains closed while saying, "Miss Bradley, there is one way that you can compensate me for my losses." "Why are you closing the curtains?" Sue asked. She found it strange. "You said that there's a way to make it up to you. What is it?" Philip had completely closed the curtains. He really enjoyed the moment of anticipation when the room became dark, and the woman that he was with didn't yet know what was about to happen. It was always like this when he set his sights on a female tenant. "Miss Bradley, Sue, I've done so much for you. You must have worked out why I've been so good to you." He turned around. In the dark room, his face was so malicious that it made Sue's heart tremble. It felt like he became a completely different person the moment he closed the curtains. "What are you talking about, Mr. Gellor? Open the curtains. It's too dark in here. I don't like it." She walked to the window and was about to open the curtains, but he grabbed her hand. "Ah!" she cried out in shock. She was terrified when she saw the sinister smile on his face. "What are you doing? Let go of me!" Previously, she had thought of Philip as a generous, warm-hearted man who enjoyed helping others. Now she realized that something was very wrong, but she was still trying to convince herself that she was mistaken. I've helped you so much, Sue. You must have realized that I really like you." Looking at her pretty face in front of him, Philip became increasingly aroused. He said, "And I'll let you off the 4 months' rent, and you can stay here for as long as you need to." When Sue saw his lustful eyes, she finally realized the severity of her situation. "What are you saying? Let go of me!" she screamed. She tried to get away from him, but he was holding her tightly to him, and she couldn't get free, no matter how hard she tried. The evil light in his eyes grew. Holding both of her hands in one hand, he said, "Don't be afraid. I've come prepared. And remember, I'm paying $8,000 to—" "Let me go! Let go!" Sue felt repulsed when she saw the in his hands. She grew even more scared as she yelled, "Let go of me, you go! You're so beautiful, come on." Philip's mind was completely focused on what was about to happen. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly there was an urgent knock on the door. "What's wrong?" someone shouted from the other side of the door. "Miss Bradley?" Philip was distracted by the noise. He was puzzled. He knew that the apartment next door was currently empty. Could it be that people passing by heard her screams? Whoever it was, he knew that he had no choice but to stop what he was doing. He let go of Sue. "You—" she yelled and kneed him in the— "Oh!" Philip bent over in agony. He was sure that this feeling of being crushed— Sue opened the door and Alex stepped in. "What's happening?" he asked worriedly. "Nothing." Sue was too embarrassed to tell him what had just happened. After all, the root cause of the problem was that she hadn't paid her rent, and nothing had actually happened. She was worried that people would judge her if they heard that she had been— "Now get out!" she shouted at Philip, who was hobbling along, not even able to stand up straight. With difficulty, he left. But he wasn't planning to give up. Sue invited Alex to stay for a drink. She opened the curtains and sat beside him on the sofa. "Thank you for what you did just now." She was still a little afraid when she thought about what had nearly happened. "Did that person touch you?" Alex asked. "Don't say any more. It's not what you think. If he tries anything," she said with a small smile. Alex sighed. Looking at Sue's expression, he was sure that he was right. Philip had been her. At that moment, the TV and air conditioning in the room suddenly stopped working. Sue went to check the bathroom and found that the water had also been turned off. "What's going on?" Alex asked with a frown. Before Sue could answer, there was an abrupt knock on her door. When she opened it, 2 staff members walked in and started scolding her rudely. "You have to leave today," one of them said. "And you have to pay the 4 months' rent as soon as possible. You've been blacklisted with all the letting agents in the city. Until you pay back the money you owe us, you won't be able to rent a room anywhere in New York." The 2 men sneered and one said, "Hurry up and clear out. If I see that you're still here tonight, you'll be forcibly removed." With that, the 2 men left. "This is Philip's doing," Alex said, still frowning. Sue let out a heavy sigh. She cringed when she remembered how she had believed that Philip was helping her out of kindness. She felt like an idiot. She also couldn't understand. Gloomily, she started to pack up her things. "Do you have anywhere to go?" Alex asked worriedly. He thought, if Sue owes over 4 months' rent, it means that she can't have any money on her. How is she going to survive in New York? It's so expensive to live here. And there are all sorts of dangers for a girl on her own on the streets. "No, Sue replied honestly. She really didn't know where she would go when she left this apartment. If she couldn't think of anything else, she would have to go home. She was 26 years old, but would have to go back to her parents' house. Goodbye. It was nice to meet you. Sue had packed up her things quickly and was about to leave. I've got a suggestion. You could live in my apartment, Alex suggested, looking at Sue. He was really worried about her. She had made a really good impression on him earlier when she wanted to help him. Now he was keen to help her if he could. You... Sue was still angry about Philip tricking her. Her first thought was that Alex was similar. He was trying to take advantage of her. She had really warmed to him since meeting him, so the thought that he was another rogue upset her. He noticed the suspicious way that she was looking at him and said quickly, "Don't get me wrong, I'm a student at Preston University, so I usually stay in the dorm. I rented this apartment, but I'm still really busy at school, so I'm not planning to live here yet." Really? You're not lying to me? Sue asked, puzzled. I promise I'm not lying to you. Of course, if you're worried, you could always get the locks changed. If I want to visit, I'll always knock. I won't have a key to let myself in, Alex explained in earnest. Finally, he said, "If you still don't know if you can trust me, I completely understand. Anyone would feel the same after what just happened. But I'm really afraid that you'll be in danger out on the streets. I've got $800 on me, which I'd like you to take. You can rent a room at a guest house until you get back on your feet." As he spoke, Alex took out all his cash, which came to about $800. No matter how Sue looked at him, she just couldn't convince herself that he was lying. She still had a good impression of him. "All right," she said. "I would love to stay in your apartment. Thank you so much. Please keep your money. I still have a little myself. Do you want to help me move my stuff to yours?" "Sure," Alex replied with a bright smile. Then he helped her carry all her belongings next door to his apartment. "Sue, what's been going on?" he asked her when they finished moving her things. He had been puzzling over her predicament and couldn't work out how a smart woman like her could end up in a situation where she couldn't pay her rent. She sighed. Talking about her situation made her feel very sad. But she already felt depressed and didn't think talking to Alex about it could make her feel any worse. "I used to be a sports reporter with a salary of over $3,000 a month. It wasn't a massive salary, but it was plenty for me and I loved the job. It involved reporting on all kinds of sporting events all over the world. Because of my job, I traveled all over the United States and even to Europe on some occasions." Her eyes lit up when she remembered her old life. "But a year ago, the boss asked me to be an American athlete. I refused, so he fired me and made it impossible to work again within the industry. He even brought several lawsuits against me." Alex was horrified. But he also had a lot of respect for Sue. "You're unbelievably brave and strong," he said. She smiled and replied, "I don't know about brave and strong. I just couldn't do something that felt so wrong." At that moment, her cell phone rang. When she saw the name Jade on the screen, she hesitated for a moment before answering. When she did, a barrage of criticism came down the line from her sister. "What the hell are you up to? Why haven't you come to see your parents for over 2 months? It's been so long that your family probably won't even recognize you. When they see you..." "Jade, I know and I'm sorry. I was wrong. but it's because I've been so busy at work recently. When I get busy, I forget about everything else." Sue smiled apologetically. "Too busy to see your family? And you really think that you're the only one who's busy? Seriously?" Jade mumbled to herself before continuing. "Tomorrow is Father's anniversary. Have you forgotten about it?" "How could I forget?" "Jade, of course not. Well, at least you didn't forget. Go to Mom's house tomorrow morning. By the way, Mom's worried about you, so she found someone for you. He sounds pretty good. Wear nice clothes tomorrow because he'll be there." "What? Why is Mom trying to set me up again? I've told her so many times already I don't need her to worry about me." Sue looked miserable. "Hey, you can't blame Mom for worrying about you. Give her a break. At your age, you should be worrying more about the fact that you're not married yet. Mom is really upset about it, and you had the audacity to tell her off for worrying about you. You really don't know what's good for you. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow." Jade finished her lecture and ended the call. Sue immediately called her mother to ask about the man she was trying to match her with. Before they had said a single word to each other, they were both in bad moods. So they started to quarrel almost immediately. Her mother ended the call abruptly with a loud tut. "What's wrong?" Alex asked when he saw Sue's helpless expression. "My mom secretly found me a partner. She wants me to meet him tomorrow. I hate it when she tries to set me up. So why does she keep doing it?" She was so angry that her face was red. Suddenly, she had an idea. She looked up at him and asked softly, "Alex, how about you be my boyfriend?"
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.